In a house on a hill not so far from you, in a room not much different from yours, lives a girl named Sue. In a golden cage by her bed lives her best friend George. She loves him and he loves her too. George, like most birds, loved to go worm hunting in the mornings with his friend, an indigo bunting. After breakfast, in the sunlight, with Sue on her bike, George helped her fly kites. And like all birds, George loved to sit on statues. But George was different from the other birds, because when no one was looking, he grew. And at night, Sue and George flew. Since George liked statues that were pretty, they flew to a lady overlooking New York City. They then waved to dolphins over the Atlantic blue, laughing and smiling in the wind as they flew. Stonehenge was an ancient place. Sue smiled as the breeze brushed against her face. They reached the Eiffel Tower in Paris at last. Bonjour, said Sue to people as she flew past. George and Sue stopped in Florence at a piazza, where Sue stood and yelled, Molto bella! They flew to the pyramids of Giza in the Valley of the Kings. Salam alaikum, they heard a camel sing. They even stopped in Agra, India, at the Taj Mahal. Masti, said the people as they walked into the hall. They then flew to St. Petersburg's Palace Square. Privyet, said Sue to the crowd from way up in the air. Sue and George over the Great Wall of China flew high and watched a star streak against the sky. They then arrived to the huge tower in Tokyo, Japan. It was here Sue and George could see all the land. Sue and George went to the desert and felt the heat. In the outback of Australia, they met a kangaroo. That was neat. Antarctica was a cold place where penguins play. They scooted around and fished all day. Past a sky full of purple and yellow, George and Sue felt kind of mellow. Sleepily, Sue began to yawn. It was not yet, but almost dawn. What more shall we see tonight? I can't see everything in one flight. For the world is a rather large place, but we must all learn it at our own pace. So George carried Sue over his wing as the birds in the tree began to sing. Sue fell asleep with a smile. George fell asleep too, glad to be home for a while. Who knows where they'll fly tomorrow?